With the Sean Combs trial fast approaching, prosecutors are adding to their case, now hitting the former rap mogul with additional sex trafficking charges.
Diddy Combs facing 2 additional criminal charges in the sprawling trafficking case against him.
This morning, Sean Diddy Combs faces 2 additional criminal charges a month before he's scheduled to stand trial in New York. Federal prosecutors charged Combs with an additional count of trafficking and an additional count of transportation to engage in prostitution. Both relate to an individual referred to in court papers as Victim 2.
Y'all, it's getting real. Sean Diddy Combs just walked into the biggest courtroom of his life, and every single eye staring back at him belongs to a woman. From the fierce prosecution team led by James Comey's daughter to a potential all-female jury ready to decide his fate, Diddy is surrounded. And for someone who spent decades building a carefully controlled empire, he's never looked more out of control. For months now, the rumors have been swirling. Secret settlements, explosive lawsuits, that chilling surveillance footage. But none of that compares to what's about to go down inside that federal courtroom in Manhattan, because this isn't just a trial. This is the dismantling of Diddy's image, his legacy, and possibly his freedom. Let's break this down. Diddy has officially been hit with a federal indictment, not just for one bad night or one explosive relationship. No, prosecutors are alleging that this man ran an entire criminal organization masked by glitz, fame, and designer suits.
The highly anticipated federal criminal train for hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs is scheduled to start today with jury selection process. ABC's Aaron Katursky reports as he faces multiple charges, including racketeering and trafficking.
They say Diddy trafficked women, directed his employees to help cover it up, used drugs and power to manipulate victims, and crossed state, even international fog lines to pull it off. And now, the man who used to command red carpets and music charts is sitting in a courtroom, completely outnumbered. You may have heard that the entire prosecution team is made up of white women. That's right, not a single man is standing across from Diddy in that courtroom. And leading the charge, Maurene Comey, the daughter of former FBI Director James Comey. This alone had social media buzzing. People calling it karma, others calling it a setup. But what no one expected was that the jury, the 12 people who will ultimately decide whether Diddy walks or spends the rest of his life behind bars, could also end up being all women. And let's be honest, that's not great news for Diddy.
This morning, jury selection begins in the most anticipated trial of the year, the racketeering conspiracy and trafficking trial of Sean Combs.
Because at the heart of this case are some of the most disturbing allegations imaginable, ones that involve women being lured into Diddy's inner circle with promises of fame and protection, only to be allegedly drugged, coerced, and forced into acts he called freak-offs. Some of these encounters were allegedly orchestrated, filmed, and monitored by Diddy himself. And one woman, known as Victim 1 in the federal indictment, has a story that mirrors another name we all know too well.
That includes video obtained by CNN showing Combs chasing then-girlfriend Cassie Ventura down a hotel hallway in 2016, knocking her down and kicking her.
Cassie Ventura, remember her? The woman who filed that bombshell lawsuit last year accusing Diddy of years of abuse, emotional, physical, sexual. The same woman who settled that lawsuit privately within 24 hours, only to have a surveillance video leak months later, showing Diddy kicking, dragging, and assaulting her in a Los Angeles hotel hallway, a video that Diddy's legal team tried desperately to suppress. But the judge? He said, nope. The jury's going to see it. So now picture this, you're Diddy. You're facing a federal trial for trafficking and racketeering. Your accuser is a woman who was once your girlfriend, your artist, your brand ambassador. The most damning piece of evidence is a video that shows you physically assaulting her. And the people deciding your fate? Mostly women, maybe all women. The same women you've been accused of exploiting for decades.
I mean, I hit rock bottom, but I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable.
And here's where things start to unravel. Sources close to the courtroom say Diddy's legal team is rattled. They've already tried pushing for trial delays, claiming they needed more time to respond to new charges in a superseding indictment. The judge shut it down. They've tried to block key evidence, question juror screening tactics, and even push back against the questionnaire jurors are being asked to fill out. Why? Because the questions dig deep into their personal beliefs, their thoughts on cheating, sexual abuse, even their opinions on hip-hop and rap culture. And let's just say, this isn't the crowd Diddy's used to impressing. Okay, so we already know the courtroom is packed with power and pressure. But what's really going on behind those doors right now might surprise you. Because picking a jury in a case like this, it's not just paperwork and polite interviews. It's psychological warfare. Starting May 5th, hundreds of New Yorkers began filling out detailed questionnaires at the Manhattan Federal Courthouse. And we're not just talking about name, age, or job title. These forms are digging into the deepest corners of their beliefs, backgrounds, and emotional scars. Prosecutors are looking for jurors who've survived something, people who know what it feels like to not be believed, people who've lived through assault, betrayal, or being controlled. Because those jurors, they'll feel the weight of the evidence differently. According to jury consultant Robert Hirschhorn, the prosecution wants women who've experienced unwanted contact, even if it's never been reported. And they especially want women who won't look away when that Cassie video rolls in the courtroom. You know, the one where Diddy is seen dragging, kicking, and cornering her like a monster from a horror film. But Diddy's team, they're after something totally different. They want compartmentalizers, jurors who can witness something horrifying and still not let it sway their judgment. Hirschhorn says Diddy's lawyers will be looking for women who have experienced cheating or betrayal, but got over it.
This office is determined to investigate and prosecute anyone who engages in trafficking, no matter how powerful or wealthy or famous you may be.
Why? Because that might signal someone who could get past the Cassie video. His logic, if they've been hurt and moved on, maybe they can see that video and still believe Diddy's version of events, that it was a toxic relationship, not a trafficking operation. Quote from Hirschhorn, "Everybody that says compartmentalize, I don't care what else they say. Unless they say, I already think Diddy's guilty, I'm putting them on the jury every day. And if someone says, I can't get over cheating, they're out, because Diddy's lawyers know that juror is going to convict. No hesitation, no mercy." Now here's where it gets even deeper. Diddy's defense team, led by attorney Mark Agnifilo, is planning to argue that he was just part of an alternative lifestyle. In other words, he wasn't trafficking anyone. He was swinging. Let that sink in. They're asking jurors to accept that the disturbing stories, women being recruited, flown across borders, drugged and exploited, weren't trafficking. They were just consensual. Freaky, yes, but not criminal. And that's why one particular question in the jury form matters so much. Would hearing about people engaging in multiple partner relationships affect your ability to be fair and impartial? If a potential juror checks yes, Diddy's team strikes them off the list immediately, because anyone who finds non-monogamy immoral or weird is a danger to their defense. But here's the reality: no legal strategy can escape. Even if you find a juror who listens to rap, even if they're cool with swinging, even if they've forgiven cheaters and don't blink at crazy headlines, there's one thing that sticks. The video, that grainy hotel hallway footage leaked by CNN. Cassie, helpless. Diddy, violent. It's not something you forget, and it's not something most jurors will want to forget. And even if Diddy's lawyers say it was manipulated or taken out of context, the judge already ruled it's going in front of the jury. So the panic you're seeing from Diddy's camp, it's real. But let's get something straight, because a lot of people might still be confused about what this case is actually about. This isn't just a domestic abuse case. This isn't just about Cassie, and it's definitely not about a messy breakup. Sean Diddy Combs is on trial for running what the federal government is calling a trafficking operation, backed by a criminal enterprise. Yup, the official charges include trafficking, racketeering conspiracy, transportation to engage in prostitution, and a list of supporting crimes like bribery, intimidation, forced labor, obstruction of justice, and kidnapping. The government's argument is that Diddy didn't act alone. He allegedly used his wealth, power, and employees to recruit women, move them across state lines.
The prosecution in this case are going to be looking at attitudes or experiences towards government and prosecutors. If they believe that, prosecutors unfairly target individuals, particularly minorities. The defense side, they're going to be looking at individual preferences and feelings about hip-hop music.
And force them into sex acts, often under drugs, threats, or manipulation. These weren't isolated incidents. The feds are claiming this was an organized structure, running for years. The trial officially begins with opening statements on May 12th, 2025, and it's expected to last between 8 to 10 weeks, meaning we could see a verdict by mid-July. The prosecution has kept the full witness list sealed, but here's what we do know. Cassie Ventura is expected to be a key witness. Her story is detailed, emotional, and matches the anonymous Victim 1 listed in the indictment. She's not just a former girlfriend. She's the one who exposed the entire pattern. At least 3 more women are believed to be potential victims and witnesses, based on filings and leaks. Their stories reportedly involve being flown across borders, coerced into freak-offs with male workers, being filmed without consent, facing threats if they spoke out. The government may also call former employees, like bodyguards, assistants, or insiders, who helped clean up after these encounters or move victims from place to place. These people could give critical inside info about how Diddy allegedly maintained control. And yes, prosecutors are looking at digital evidence too. That includes recordings, texts, flight logs, and the infamous hotel surveillance video of Diddy assaulting Cassie. Okay, so let's take a moment to discuss what might have tipped this entire case over the edge. The moment that made millions of people stop defending Diddy, even after decades of loyalty and hit records. Because when CNN released that hotel surveillance video, everything changed. You've probably seen it by now, or at least heard the buzz. It shows Cassie Ventura, the once rising R&B star who was signed to Diddy's Bad Boy Entertainment, walking down a hotel hallway in Los Angeles in 2016. What follows is pure chaos. Diddy storms after her, violently kicks her to the ground, drags her back by her hoodie, and throws objects at her while she's down. There's no audio, no context, just the raw violence caught on camera. The clip is short, just a few seconds, but it's haunting. Because this isn't just some random bar fight or security footage of a club brawl. This is a man who had total control over his artist, his partner, and now allegedly his victims. Now, rewind to November 2023, months before the video leaked. Cassie filed a lawsuit that rocked the industry. She claimed Diddy abused her throughout their 11-year relationship, not just emotionally or physically, but systematically. She accused him of drugging her, forcing her into acts with strangers, filming those encounters, beating her repeatedly, controlling her finances, career, and movements. And most importantly, she said he coerced her into what he called freak-offs, the same term now featured in the federal indictment against Diddy. That's right, the anonymous Victim 1 in the indictment. Her story mirrors Cassie's in alarming detail. The drugs, the threats, the recordings, the manipulation. So even though Cassie's case was settled privately and fast, the feds clearly took notice, because just weeks later, they dropped a criminal indictment, framing Diddy as not just an abuser, but the head of a trafficking and racketeering enterprise. And here's where it gets really disturbing. According to prosecutors, Diddy didn't just abuse women in private. He created a whole infrastructure to protect his operation. The charges claim he used employees to scout and solicit victims. He transported them across state and international borders. He relied on bribery, threats, and even forced labor to cover his tracks. And he filmed encounters, possibly to control the victims or blackmail them later. Think about that. This isn't just about one relationship gone bad. The government is saying Diddy ran a literal criminal organization built on exploiting women, while maintaining the image of a glamorous, untouchable mogul. And the Cassie video? It became a symbol, a visual the prosecution can now use to say, you've heard the claims, now look with your own eyes. But Diddy's team isn't going down without a fight. Lead attorney Mark Agnifilo argued that the video shouldn't be allowed in court. He called it wholly inaccurate, having been altered, manipulated, sped up, and edited to be out of sequence. In other words, they're claiming it's fake. But here's the problem with that defense. CNN has firmly denied any editing or tampering, and the judge agreed. That's why it was a devastating blow to Diddy's team when Judge Subramanian ruled that the video is admissible and that the jury will see it. Because it's one thing to argue against allegations, it's another to argue against a video where the violence is undeniable. And Cassie, she's expected to testify. According to legal experts, even if she settled her lawsuit, she can still be called as a witness. And her testimony, paired with that video, could be the most emotional moment of the entire trial. Think about it. A woman, once deeply involved with Diddy, standing in court, describing abuse, while the jury watches footage of her being dragged across a hotel hallway. That's the kind of moment that sticks. That sways jurors. That leads to convictions. So yeah, Diddy might be worried about the all-female prosecution team. He might be trying to handpick jurors who like rap or understand open relationships. But what he can't undo is what's already on tape. So this trial isn't just about proving he hit someone. It's about proving Diddy intentionally ran a system, using fear, fame, and favors to trap women, silence them, and get what he wanted. And with multiple women lining up to speak, this could get uglier than anyone expected. We'll see if the jury believes them. And while his legal team scrambles for control, asking about music preferences, open relationships, and opinions on cheating, the clock is ticking, because when opening statements begin on May 12th, the public will finally hear both sides: the prosecution's timeline of trafficking, manipulation, and control, and the defense's argument that Diddy was just living an unconventional lifestyle. But here's the bottom line. If convicted, Diddy isn't just looking at a bad headline. He's looking at decades behind bars, possibly even life in prison. The charges are that serious. And with Cassie's video, the witnesses expected to testify, and the mountain of allegations spanning years, it's going to take more than charisma and lawyers to get him out of this. What happens next could reshape not just Diddy's life, but the music industry's dirty secrets as a whole. Because if this case opens the door to more victims, more lawsuits, and more evidence, Diddy might not be the only one with something to fear. We'll be watching.